When St. Matthew's Passion was first played in the St. Thomas Church in Leipzig on Good Friday in 1727, all present were driven, according to reports from the time, into a state of utmost astonishment. Councillors and noble ladies looked at each other and said, "What will come next?" From horror a pious widow shouted, "God help us, children! It is like being at an opera or a comedy." At some point during the transition from the Middle Ages to modernity, music began to evolve quicker than it ever had before. Included in this evolution was the nature and role of worship music, no greater example being Johann Sebastian Bach's dramatic St. Matthew's Passion, which was so scandalous to the churchgoers of his day. One can say that Bach gave music a life of its own. He allowed the drama of the Passion narrative to speak for itself in musical form. No longer was worship simply concerned with the word, and music was no longer just a spiritless backdrop. Certain reactionaries at the time opposed the internal spirit of the word to the outward garnish of music, and considered the increasing autonomy and complexity of music in worship as degenerative, as music was sensual. They believed that music ought to be a mere outward garnish for liturgical worship, a seasoning of the senses. Byung-Chul Han problematizes this dichotomy by pointing out that seasoning is part of the essence of the meal. This relates to another dichotomy Han would like to deconstruct, and that's the dichotomy between heavenly and devilish pleasure, or divine and worldly delight. Heavenly pleasure is the pure joy experienced by the saints, while devilish pleasure is inherently sensual and lustful. But according to Han, Bach not only speaks of Satan as inspiring lust, but Jesus himself. Bach speaks of Jesus quenching his pleasure's thirst, and calls Christ his desire. Similarly, he'll describe coffee and kisses as sweet, but he'll use the same word to refer to the cross upon which Christ was crucified. And this gets to the central thesis of this book. And that's that passion and pain can't be easily distinguished from pleasure and entertainment. And yet they're extremely distinct at face value. Passion is based on pain, tension, and narrativity. It involves movement, a being towards the future. It's based on the need for redemption. Entertainment, on the other hand, is based on satisfaction with the present, of dwelling in it without concern for the future. It's a being here without any need of redemption. And, of course, Bach's St. Matthew's Passion is a dramatic passion narrative in which the tension continuously rises up until the crucifixion of Christ. It involves pain, suffering, and longing. But how does it end? Here's a quote. "My Jesus, good night. My Jesus, good night. My Jesus, good night. My Jesus, good night. Rest softly, softly rest. Rest, ye exhausted limbs. Your grave and tombstone shall for the unquiet conscience a comfortable pillow, and the soul's resting place. In utmost bliss the eyes slumber there." Han will describe this by saying, after his passion, Jesus falls asleep in utmost bliss. The refrain, my Jesus, good night, gives the closing section of St. Matthew's Passion the air of a lullaby, a song of valediction, which seems to hail another time, another being here that has no further need of redemption. One can only have entertainment when there is no need of redemption, when there is a satisfaction in the being here of the present. And for Han, God is a signifier, a focal point which unites heavenly joy with delight of the mind, or entertainment, which is why the suffering and pain of Christ can be described as sweet. God prevents passion and entertainment from diffusing. Now, passion is based on transcendence, while entertainment is based on immanence. In the passion narrative, the hero always attempts to transcend their present state. They strive towards a higher goal, ideal, or future, and this striving typically involves a great deal of pain and suffering. Entertainment, on the other hand, dwells in the present and is satisfied with it. According to Han, Western art has been traditionally concerned with passion. It's been defined by a sort of longing and brokenness. He contrasts this with Eastern art, which contains no such negativity. To quote him, "Negativity does not animate Far Eastern art. It is primarily concerned with affirmation and entertainment." Unquote. This is because Eastern art is concerned with immanence as opposed to transcendence. In other words, it dwells in the present as opposed to being oriented towards a distant future. The example Han uses is that of the haiku, which literally means playful verse. Its primary goal is to entertain and amuse. This morning, how? Icicles chip, slobbering, year of the cow. The haiku is chatty and entertaining. It's not concerned with passion and pain. And even if it wanted to be, it's far too short for a passion narrative. Because there's essentially no room for the haiku to create a passion narrative, it's radically immanent, simply describing life as it is in the present. Quote, "Haiku represents nothing prior or concealed. It is all there. It has nothing to hide. Nothing withdraws into the depths. Like ukiyo-e, haiku lets the surface blaze. This is the nature of the friendliness of Eastern art." Unquote. Eastern art is concerned with everydayness, with the here and now. And when there is no longing for the transcendent, immanence becomes the whole world. The immanent and entertaining nature of Eastern art makes it similar to the music of Gioacchino Rossini, who was known for writing light, popular, and entertaining music. His music was free of pathos and the need for redemption. For Rossini, it was the sound that mattered, not the word. With his music, the pure sensuality of the sound took on a life of its own. In fact, Hegel tells his wife that he enjoys the beauty of Rossini's music and that when he listens to it, he lives in utopia. Han speculates that utopia is when spirit ceases to work and strive towards knowledge and reaches the absolute, or rather, absolute entertainment. Quote, "Awash in beauty, Hegel believes he dwells in utopia. Utopia is absolute entertainment. Pure happiness exists only where work comes to rest. Rossini's music, its gratified tone, excites and cheers him, puts him in a utopian mood." Unquote. Richard Wagner was highly critical of Rossini's music, which he called unnatural and luxurious. He believed that luxury exploits nature. It takes the flower and makes perfume out of it. But what he misses is that all culture is unnatural. The flower in a field is not yet culture. In this sense, Wagner makes nature ideology. It's true that Rossini's music was luxurious, as luxury has no depth. It's pure beauty, free from need or compulsion. But Wagner's music is based precisely on need and compulsion, of passion or striving. But it's only with the surplus of the superfluous that life is freed from compulsion, and it's only in the absence of compulsion that entertainment is made possible. And this is precisely why the term moral enjoyment is an oxymoron for Immanuel Kant, because the whole foundation of Kant's morality is duty or compulsion. One of Hans' issues with Kant is that he fails to notice that abstract concepts are very rarely the way in which morality is taught and learned. For example, norms and rules are ingrained in children not through abstractions, but through entertaining stories, such as nursery rhymes. But Kant considers entertainment to be devoid of reason. He reduces it to mere sensuality, to animality. He defines agreeable art as that which is purely sensual, is purely entertainment. It provides enjoyment from the aesthetic experience, but because of its lack of depth, it doesn't lead to further reflection. Fine art, on the other hand, also involves this original aesthetic enjoyment, but for Kant, it compels the viewer to further reflection, and in this way it broadens the understanding. So for Kant, entertainment is that which merely gratifies the senses and serves no purpose beyond the bodily. In fact, he'll even say that entertainment can lead to good health. Laughter, according to Kant, can promote one's health through agitating the body with wholesome motion. But it's nothing more than this. It's nothing more than mere bodily movement beneficial for our health. But here Kant seems to be obviously incorrect. Laughter and entertainment are of course more than merely bodily in nature. He misses that entertainment serves the function of stabilizing existing social relations and results in the internalization of norms, and that laughter, in being produced by the deviation from norms, reinforces them. Furthermore, jokes require interpretation, the use of reason. Interestingly enough, Kant will even write that reason and the act of philosophizing can be beneficial for one's health, and that it can even overpower a serious attack of gout. That's to say, Kant will strictly divide entertainment from reason, but both serve the function of improving bodily health. Reason is thus in relation to health, not at all antithetical to entertainment. Both are healthy. Health is a convergence point where reason and entertainment meet. Now, just as Kant considered entertainment to be devoid of reason, Heidegger seemingly considered entertainment to be devoid of authenticity, insofar as it allows the human being, or Dasein, to be distracted from its death. For Heidegger, Dasein can't be distracted and authentic, because when it's distracted, it loses its being over to that which distracts it. Life for Heidegger is one of passion. It is, in a sense, a passion unto death. To quote Hahn, Heidegger's expressions hardness, gravity, gloom, obscurity, or burden not only evoke the facticity of the world, they also propagate his language of passion. Being is suffering. During entertainment, which unburdens Dasein, we distance ourselves from being as passion, unquote. This idea of entertainment unburdening Dasein is related to Heidegger's notion of the they. To be lost in the they means one acts the way they act, one travels the way they travel, and one enjoys the way they enjoy. The they gives Dasein the feeling of being at home in the world, and disburdens it of the responsibility of defining itself as an existential singularity. We have a whole Patreon exclusive video on the concept of the they, so if you're interested in that, please consider becoming a patron. Now moving on, Hahn will claim that entertainment is similar to the they insofar as it gives the feeling of being at home in the world, but is nonetheless distinct from the they. While the they is understood as a lack of care for being, and in this way it disburdens Dasein of the burden of its being, entertainment is a care for things that disburden Dasein of its being. This is a crucial difference. While the they is based on a lack of care, entertainment is based on a care for things that disburden Dasein of its being. And this being is one of passion and suffering. Passion is based on the anticipation of the future. It is messianic in nature. Heidegger's being towards death is precisely this anticipation of the future, which casts Dasein out of its being at home in the they. For Heidegger, media as a form of entertainment is part of the distraction of Dasein. Media represents and reflects the world in images, while Dasein is thrown into the world. When immersed in media, Dasein loses itself in images. But for Hahn, Heidegger is far too arbitrary and narrow in his thinking here. He simply decides what an authentic life is on an arbitrary basis, and he ignores the fact that entertainment is in fact based on care, but simply a care for things that disburden Dasein. While Heidegger believes media is world poor because it consists of images which just distract Dasein, in truth, Heidegger's world is poor because it excludes so much. To quote Hahn, Heidegger constructs the authentic world through a highly arbitrary distinction. What Heidegger lacks is serenity before the world. His language of passion is willful, and achieves its effects through crude selection and exclusion. It is not friendly. Not only herons and deer belong to the world, but also mice and Mickey Mouse." Unquote. Han will end this text by pointing out that entertainment is strangely hard to define. Certain people have tried to argue that entertainment only became a phenomenon in modernity, as it was only in modernity that the average person was given enough leisure time to create and consume what we now refer to as entertainment. But Han disagrees with this, and he shows that entertainment existed long before modernity. Furthermore, entertainment doesn't necessarily correlate with more free time. And for Han, in the modern day, the present time, entertainment totalizes life in a certain way that dissolves work and free time. This totalization is bringing about a new temporality, a new experience of reality. In the present, entertainment creeps into every social system and makes them produce their own forms of entertainment. Entertainment is far more than just a way of killing time. It's a way of being, to quote him. Similarly, the line between real reality and fictional reality of entertainment is increasingly vague. Entertainment has long laid claim to real reality. It is now changing the social system as a whole, though without drawing attention to its own presence. A hypersystem coextensive with the world appears to be arising. The binary code of entertaining and not entertaining that lies at its basis will determine what is and is not fit for the world, indeed, even simply what is. And Han will conclude the book by noting that for the spirit of passion, entertainment may seem like decadence, but as he demonstrated multiple times throughout this text, they are truly kin. It is no coincidence that Kafka's hunger artist, as a figure of passion, and his hedonistic beast inhabit the same cage. Despite their distinct relation to being and freedom, they remain two circus figures, trading places until the end of time. And that's the end of the video. Thanks so much for watching. Please remember to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more philosophy videos. Also, there are currently dozens of videos on the channel available for patrons only. So please consider becoming a patron if you'd like to have access to those, along with further benefits. Once again, thank you all so much for watching, and may God bless you all.